8:50 p.m. This is Delhi. Our next broadcast follows.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Times of India, in its editorial titled Tread Carefully, says the government needs to carefully weigh the pros and cons of extending the National Register of Citizens (NRC) across the country. The NRC mess in Assam should serve as a cautionary tale. The exercise caused tremendous hardship in the state and reportedly forced some people to commit suicide. A nationwide NRC could result in large-scale disruptions to everyday life as well as to the economy, and that the nation can ill afford at the moment. Besides, there is a history to NRC in Assam. It was a way of implementing the 1985 Assam Accord, which followed a massive influx of illegal immigrants in the state that triggered a mass movement and fixed March 25, 1971 as the cut-off date after which foreigners would be detected and expelled. Plus, the latest NRC in Assam was a Supreme Court mandated and monitored process. Other states lack such a history. Moreover, even in Assam's limited context, it has hardly proven successful. BJP in Assam is itself up in arms against it and wants it done all over again. What's the guarantee that we don't see a repeat on much larger scale? It's worth keeping in mind that NRC verification isn't as simple as producing a voter ID card or a passport. In the Assam NRC, one first had to produce documentary proof issued before March 24, 1971 to prove that one's ancestors were residing in India before that date. The next step was producing documents for oneself to establish relationship with those ancestors. The Financial Express, in its editorial titled Onus of Fixing GST, Not Just the Central Governments, says, given state governments have not got their GST compensation, this is guaranteed when their revenue growth falls below a certain level for the months of August and September, and the chances of getting the full compensation for the rest of the year also look bleak. It is not surprising they are up in arms. A joint statement by the finance ministers of 4 non-BJP states, Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan and West Bengal, points out that with GST comprising nearly 60% of the tax revenues of states, this is literally bringing activities of the states to a grinding halt. A day prior to this, West Bengal Finance Minister Amit Mitra wrote to Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman asking her to convene a meeting urgently to discuss ways to augment revenues and to set up an effective mechanism to detect and avert input tax credit (ITC) frauds. It is not clear how large ITC fraud is, but given the centre caught ITC frauds worth rupees 11,500 crore last year, the total fraud could be in the region of rupees 1 lakh crore a year. Estimates are the government catches 10 to 15% of theft. Since higher collections of rupees 1 lakh crore per year would be enough to ensure the states get fully compensated, Mitra was right in pointing out that development of business intelligence systems to detect such frauds and setting up dedicated units in each state is the need of the hour. It is of course not clear how Mitra thinks all fraud can be caught and within a few months, and surely the fact that the economy is growing much slower than last year, FY20 growth could be 5.5% to 5.75% as compared to FY19's 6.8%, would also have contributed to the slowdown in collections. More so when you look at how sales of automobiles that are taxed at the highest rate have fared so far in the year. While it is true that states were promised a compensation, the 4 state finance ministers are stretching credulity a bit when they say it was recalled that the assurance of GST compensation was a necessary enabler in states agreeing to subsume their fiscal sovereignty into GST, since the suggestion is that Sitharaman dip into the centre's tax kitty to pay states the compensation. The Tribune, in its editorial titled Surveillance Fears, says the outrage over the disclosure that a spyware developed by an Israeli firm was used to conduct illegal surveillance on Indian citizens has now reached a parliamentary standing committee. Those targeted want to know which agencies carried out the surveillance, if sections of the state or central government were involved, and if public money was spent on it, especially when the government initially said it did not have the information. The disclosure takes place even as the government plans to regulate social media because of the disruptions it can cause. A case in this connection is before the Supreme Court. The alarm over the incident is all the more because of its surreptitious nature, especially when Pegasus is said to have been used by Saudi Arabia to keep a watch on journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was murdered. Technology can be a boon or bane. It has facilitated the spread of information and boosted connectivity, but has also seen concerns arising out of the spread of fake news, resulting in social disharmony.